Wow, I'm excited to introduce you to this next lady. She is in our virtual green room, and oh, the story she tells. Rhonda Colia has written a book called The Crop Duster's Daughter. And we were just talking about crop dusters and just the slice of Americana that it is and what it's like now. And we'll get into that in a second. But Rhonda, thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
What made you write this book?
My mother was born in 1918, and because this was such a unique and an unusual area of vocation, I thought that people needed to know what a pioneer she was for crop dusting and crop spraying. I mean, it's just, there's only a handful now. In fact, there's only like 3,000 crop dusters in the United States, or else it's either the United States or around the world. So it's a very limited group. And I just thought, since she pioneered it, she built her own airplane. Oh, she was amazing. I just had to get the word out.
Wow, she built her own airplane and she figured
Yes.
it all out. What was she like?
She was adventurous, obviously. She loved anything that went fast. She met my father and she traded Harley lessons for flying lessons. So she learned to ride a Harley. And of course, he became a pilot, and they married later on, about 3 years later, and they would do dog fights. Mom would paint the airplanes red, white, and blue with white and red dog teeth on them on the front. And then they do mock trials and mock dog fights for the community of Bennington, Kansas, which was about 600 people. And everybody in the community and surrounding area would come out and watch. They'd start at opposite ends of the crop field and they'd fly towards each other. And then they'd come up in a loop, in a lazy eight, split eight, and they'd part ways in the air. It was really cool.
Wow. So for you, did you have any desire to learn the skill that she had?
I did at first, but I know how dangerous it is. And the lifespan of a crop duster when she was doing it was only 7 years. And she was a pilot and instructor for 34 years. And she was a crop duster for 29. So it tells you she had some serious skills.
Boy, no kidding. What do people not know about crop dusting that you talk about in the book?
Well, I don't go into a lot of detail in the book because I thought it might not be as interesting to them as it would be if I just told her life story. But basically, when you're flying over that crop, you're about a foot off that crop. You're spraying at 120 miles an hour. And you do not have room for error. I mean, if a wheel caught the top of that crop, you'd be over in just a heartbeat. If you make a mistake coming up and you hit one of the power lines, you need to go in at an angle so that the crop will cut the wire instead of bouncing you back like a rubber band. And things like that. Those are important things to know. Cottonwoods are an optical illusion. They are actually about 2 feet taller than they appear. When you're pulling up, you need to know things like that.
Yeah, no kidding. So in the book, as you say, you talk about her life, and you've already told us some amazing things. What else will we learn in the book, The Crop Duster's Daughter?
She got shot down and she lay without an incident. She was, oh God, I loved hearing her tell this story, but I have her on tape doing that. She was giving a third flight lesson to a nervous Nellie that she was going to wash out because she just did not have stamina for being a pilot. Mom wouldn't be comfortable soloing her. And so she was up with her third lesson and she knew there was a thunderhead, but it was on the horizon. They weren't going to be gone for very long. And so she was going to be able to take the lesson and get back in plenty of time before the storm hit. Well, this was a fabric airplane that my mother built. And it was a tail dragger. I'm not sure if it was an Aranca or what, but it was a tail dragger. And she heard a pop. And Mom said that it was probably just a clap of thunder. Well, in truth, Mom had just gotten a bullet in her back and it missed her heart by half an inch. And it came through the fabric of the airplane, caught her in the back. And she knew something had happened, but she couldn't believe she'd been shot. She just knew that she was in a panic and her body was shutting down. And so she had to land that plane. So she took over the controls and told her she was going to show her and demonstrate how to do a forced landing. And she landed the plane without incident, but she slumped over the wheel. And that's when the nervous Nellie, I don't know her name, but bless her heart, she saved my mom's life that day. She ran and got help. And my mother actually went into a 3-day coma after that. And she had a near-death experience, but she came out of it and resumed her life. I mean, she was remarkable. She was remarkable.
Wow, no kidding. And we're speaking with Rhonda Colia. It's so fascinating. The Crop Duster's Daughter is the name of the book. You can get it on Amazon or anywhere where great books are sold. Did she ever buzz you? Did she ever fly over your car, just tease you?
God, yes. You bring that up. I was 16 and a new driver. I've been driving with her since I was 14, and I was on a solo drive, and she was ferrying the airplane or going empty, no load in it. And she'd just gotten a short takeoff and landing kit, a STOL kit installed. And she was ferrying the airplane from Salina, Kansas back to Clyde, Kansas. Well, these are back roads and they're almost all dirt or gravel roads. And I was driving along singing to Barry Manilow because it was prom and I was all excited. I was going with my boyfriend. And I got distracted. I wasn't watching her signal cues where to turn. So all of a sudden I was going around one of these curves that just seemed to go on forever. You know, it was a hill that you couldn't see past and you just couldn't see around. And all of a sudden I see my mother flying low straight at me, eyeball to eyeball. And she is laughing so hard and I am panic stricken, which is of course why she did it, to get my attention. And she flies right over the roof of the hood of the car, drops an automatic flag, and gets my attention. So, it's a wonder I didn't wreck, but this is so common for my mother that it didn't really surprise me that much. I got her cue and I made it home on time and I didn't go out of my way. But, these are the kinds of things my mother would do. And this was normal. I woke up every morning to the yawn of a Pawnee 235, which was her single airplane. That was about 5:30 every morning, summer, every time, every day. When the sun was up, Mom was up just before, so she could be on the crop by sun up. She did not waste time during the day because Kansas winds will keep you from getting your job done, and she couldn't do that. So she was up, sun up to sundown.
How fun has this journey been for you to write this book?
Oh, it's been a hoot. Mixed emotions because I miss her, She always made me laugh. She was always in for a good prank or a good joke. She really loved pranks. And she would always leave me silly little notes, and I memorized one. I got one published, a little poem. And, it's been a journey of reminiscing and remembering close up and personal just how neat it was to have the engines. We had an 1881 highway airport. And at one time, we probably took about 13 planes on ground, that we were either tying down or hangaring. And, it was pretty thriving for a small business. Of course, we had the crop dusting business too, with 2 planes. And I got to go up all the time in the trainers. One time, my mother wanted to make a flight fun for me. We were going on a business trip to meet a gentleman at Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. And I love black olives. Don't ask me. I did. And they served some non-pitted black olives. So Mom told me to save the seeds and she would open the window and we could plant little olive trees on the way home, which was her way of making it fun for a little 6-year-old girl.
How fun. What do you hope people take away from reading your book about your mom?
I hope they take away the fact that she was a real pioneer. She lived in a man's world and she worked at Beechcraft one time and she was a foreman and she found a riveting pattern in one of the wings that was going to fail. And having been an A&E mechanic and building her own airplane, she knew this. And she took it to her supervisor and he laughed at her and didn't have a clue what she was talking about. And I begged to differ, so did she. So she quit her job when she couldn't get anybody to listen to her, which was a bold move because with 400 kids and a single mom back in the 50s, that was a stigma, it was terrifying. And she did it anyway because her conscience wouldn't let her knowingly create a failing wing. And so sure enough, about a year later, the plane failed. It was the wing, it was the riveting pattern. And it didn't make her feel good because she knew it was going to happen. And, I don't know the outcome if somebody was not surviving it or what the situation was, but the wing failed like she said it would. And, it's just constant people not giving her the credit she was due and not believing her. When she said something was going to happen, good or bad, on that flight, she knew. And she always had a motto: take care of your airplane and it'll take care of you.
Wow.
She had momisms, and she brought us up in the milk of God's word, and she had nail soup, which was really fun. She took a shiny 10-penny brand new nail, stuck it in a pot of boiling water, and she opened the Bible on the table to all faith verses that, like faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. That's my favorite Bible verse because it says so much and so little. And we had to memorize these Bible verses on faith while she was helping us cook the nail soup. And sure enough, she said it turned into chicken noodle soup. Well, of course it did, because she would add ingredients when we weren't looking at the Bible, trying to memorize the Bible verses. So she had a way of making things fun, and learning was always fun around my mom. She was a teacher before she was a crop duster.
Wow. Well, what a tribute to her. What an interesting lady. And we can all learn, I think, a lot from this book and from her, the crop duster's daughter, Rhonda Colia. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Kate. And you have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too.